Real Talk. I'm your host, Jasveer Kaur Rababan. This is our space to talk about things that you want to know about. You've been sending us your questions, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Please join me in welcoming Yogi of Sound, Professor Surinder Singh.
Satkartar.
Satkartar Yogi Ji. Thank you for joining us again for Real Talk.
My pleasure.
I'm going to jump right in with the questions. We've had a lot of questions roll in the emails from our wonderful viewers. If you want to send us your questions, the email will pop up at the bottom, info@yogiofsound.com. We've been spending the last couple of weeks talking about the turban. And one of our viewers sent us a question about the identity and the connection of identity with the turban. So he said that he's born into a Sikh family and was told by his parents that he must tie a turban, and there was never really any connection given much more beyond that, that we are Punjabis, therefore we are Sikh, therefore you must wear a turban. How can people like him, who are more immersed in the Punjabi culture than they are into Sikhi, make a more meaningful connection with their turban?
Yes, it has to be clear to us that why do we need to wear a turban and what role it plays in my Sikhi. When I'm meditating, when I'm in a physical process of kasrat, when I am going to my work or for my just generic health, if you start looking into it, you'll find a connection. The way you can first you find the physical connection, turban on your head, what is it doing to you physically when it comes to your physical energy? Is there a change when you don't have a turban on your head? First, that sort of relationship has to be built, that trust has to be there, and then it will give you a belief, a different sort of a mental process. You will start seeing a change the way you are thinking. Your contemplation will have another edge. Then we are talking about faith. Then you will be able to use your turban in the spiritual world. Identity in a Punjabi world, that's a separate issue. We, as a socialist, it is okay for us to, have an identity, turban as an identity. Afghans have turban; it's part of their identity. So is the people from Egypt or some African tribes also. It is okay if you want to carry turban as a Punjabi identity. But here I am little concerned when we are mixing two worlds together, a social world and a spiritual. Sikhi and the role of turban is completely different. It is to not just the turban doesn't just helps you to preserve the energy so you don't lose the energy with the spiritual churning, but making it to a further use, so giving you a little bit extra battery to enjoy the life and enjoy that oneness. So I'm born brought up in a Punjabi family too. I understand the cultural and peer pressure and the family's pressure. But this is why we're having these conversations amongst us, that we must start looking for questions so that we can have a real quest. You're not going to find these answers in books. There has been, we paid price for these turbans. It's not, we were beheaded for how we looked because we were so clear and so conscious. So there must be other practices. It's not the turban makes us. It is we make the turban a special thing. When it comes to our head, the identity is created then. Um, Look into the other traditions and the use of turban and the sex and its practical purposes, not just that it is a it's not going to help me when I go for a job or this and that. That materialistic social problems always going to be there. But if you have a purpose, if you're clear that what role your turban plays for you, then only then it is worth it. It's like having something with you, a gadget which you don't know how to use, a gadget which is no use to you, or gadget you have no clue about. So what is the purpose of that gadget? So turban was given to us as a tool with a purpose by Guru Sahib, Guru Nanak Sahib to Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj. And then to keep this practice alive, we gave our heads, our ancestors, you know. So the khalsa, the purity, we learned from the gurus how to be the khalsas, how to be pure. And turban played a huge role when we were practicing, when we were churning our lives with our spirituality. So turban is not a piece of cloth, and turban is not to be taken so lightly and created or stitched up with a culture and identity. That's very shallow.
It is very shallow, but unfortunately, it's a reality of where we sit at the moment, just in our global space as Punjabis. And I say Punjabis because, as you've just mentioned, there is a distinction between being a Punjabi and being a Sikh. Um, and the turban, I mean, we've been talking about this now for a couple of weeks, but I think it's an important topic, that how we have begun to use it as a symbol of identity, which, as you've said, is okay. But when we were talking I think it was last week, that if we're looking to seek shelter, that the responsibility given to the turban that a Sikh wears is to protect others. And there's an assumption that everybody would do this, but it's not the case. I mean, we're seeing that at the moment, even with the whole like Black Lives Matter, not everybody is stepping forward to be a part of that cause. Most of our community is disassociating and saying, well, this is nothing to do with us. This is their problem, and we've got our own problems. Um, so I think that this separation of how we see others and how we see ourselves is the difference for me between how a Punjabi would look at the situation and how a Sikh should be looking at the situation. For me, a Sikh should be looking at the whole situation, that we're all the same, fighting the good fight, standing to help support others who are being oppressed or who are being treated badly. That's a part of our dharam. And not seeing that enough is painful. When we see so many people with turbans walking around, it's really difficult to know, like, who is a Sikh and who is a Punjabi. Like, how do
When
we
Guru
find
Sahib
it?
says, yeah, just here, I agree with you. When Guru Sahib Ji says, Manas ki jaat sab hai, ek hai pehchan bo. So the Guru Maharaj says this, and um, we ignore that. We don't care about it. If you see how you associating Punjabis, turban and Sikhi together, you see the Punjabi outfit. So society have a very different. They have swayed away. We still have the Khans. We still have Jats. We still there's a lower caste, a high caste. There is so many divisions. Guru Sahib wanted us to elevate ourselves so we can reach to a level of oneness. And the oneness is not just, oneness is oneness. There is no two things. Uh, so that once we become manas, we think like humans. That the division disappears, that duality goes. And we have to seek, we have to be Sikhs. Sikhi is, that's what Sikhi does. creates that clarity, so that fog disappears. The problem is that we are not following Guru Sahib. That's a huge problem. We are following what works for us, what works for my clan, what my Jat or the Khan family or this, that. I was reading some horrible posts that if Rangreta Sikh, you know, according to the Punjabis, a part of the Jathebandi, even the Batta has been run through the fire to purify. Then there's no Sikhi. Sikhi doesn't, we're not learning about it. Sikhi teaches us a simple thing, humanity.
Right.
It is not about that you are white or black, or you are rich or poor, you are male or female. Sikhi gives you consciousness to be human, and above all of these segregations. But if one society refuses to learn that and update and upgrade their psyche, nothing much we can do about it. It's a refusal. That, parents sends us to school, and at school we decide we want to learn and be good students and to make our life amazing or not. It is our choice. And same thing is with the Guru's school, Guru Mat. So we can learn about the physical purpose of the star. We can learn about materialistic and spiritual purpose of it. But it is our learning. Our learning will create practice, and that practice, which will define that we through Sikhi we became Khalsa or not. We are pass or fail. So socially we have a problems. It is a reality, Jasveer Kaur, that Jat family and Ramgarhia family doesn't want to even have association when it comes to these lines are so dense.
Mm.
Black Lives Matters. Yes, it does, and it is a very horrible patch on humanity at the moment. That how can a human can do this to the other being? But this was happening to us when Guru Hargobind Sahib decided. He said, "No, I give you not just a piri, also a miri. I give you a very different class. That inside that light has to come out. You're not a sheep that anybody can come and take you. You're human beings. So if you know how to give your head, you will also be trained how to take one."
Mm-hmm.
So Guru stopped us. He said begging is not allowed. ਜੇ ਮੰਗਣਾ ਆ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਤੋਂ ਮੰਗ, ਬਸ ਇੱਕੋ ਦਾ ਚੱਕਰ ਬਣ. If you want to have something, ask from Karta Purkha, Akal Purkha.